being able to manifest your heart's desire to align yourself and your intentions with this divine organizing intelligence that is limitless, that is inexhaustible, that is ever expanding, that is abundant, that is all providing and all knowing and everywhere at the same time, is like walking down another street. To align yourself with that and to know that that alignment in itself is enough to bring whatever it is that has particularized, that is individualized into the world that you would like to have show up in your life and align with the particularization of that divine intelligence that is you. That it's just bringing it all together. It's just a realignment. And it will cooperate with you. The thing that will keep it from working for you is any obstacle to that flow. As I talked about when I was speaking about unconditional love. The minute that you put hatred, anger, bitterness, tension, anxiety, stress in the way of that intelligence, between you and that intelligence, you block that flow. It is a flowing. That's why we use water as a symbol of it, because it flows at all times. It's like 70% of who you are is water. 70% of this planet is water. 85% of your brain is water. It is the kahunas always use the reference of the symbol of water. Water and the universal God force are the same. That's why you need lots of it in your system at all times as an antidote to any of the things that interfere with your perfection, with your clarity, with your being at one. And so, as you process and try to get a hold of this concept of water, try to imagine you're sitting by a stream and you reach into the stream and you want to get a hold of some of the water. And you reach in and you grab it real hard. And you as tight as you can get it, and you try to hang on to it. Then you open up your hand to see what you got, and you got nothing. Because you can't get a hold of it, you can't grab it, you can't be firm with it. In order to enjoy the water, and to experience the water, to know the water, you put your hand in it, and you relax. And then you get to experience and know the water. The minute that you tighten and grab and insist and try to take it, it flows past you. Well, that's the same thing that happens when you are attempting to rush the universe. It's called don't push the river. You don't push it, you flow with it. You row your boat gently down the stream. Down the stream, not up the stream. You don't fight it. Merrily, merrily, always merrily. And when you grasp that, it's like walking down another street. Now, one of the keys to being able to walk down this street is that you don't have to convince anybody else who is still stuck back there in the tribal awareness, in the tribal consciousness, that indeed this is what will happen and this is what I'm doing. Because the minute you do that, you again put a blockage. You're always trying to keep yourself from erecting obstacles and barriers to what it is that you would like to see manifested in your life. And most of us don't realize that the obstacles that we place in front of us are the things that they're not like bricks and they're not boards. They're not physical apparatuses. What they are thoughts, ideas, attitudes, consciousness. And the attitude, the consciousness, the awareness of, I want this to happen, I want it to happen now. And if it doesn't happen, then I am going to blame somebody else for it. Or anger or hatred or bitterness or any of those kinds of things. Any of those attitudes immediately block the flow of the God force into your life. The characteristics or qualities of self-actualizing people is that they detach themselves from outcome. They are no longer concerned, as it says in the Bhagavad Gita, they are no longer concerned with the fruits of their labors. You know you're on purpose. You trust in your connection to this divineness. You know you are not separate from it any longer. And so this ego part of you that is so insistent upon doing things now and doing things right and making yourself better and proving how great you... all of that, while you don't lose it entirely, you tame it sufficiently to allow this sacred part of you. And when people ask me over and over again, well, how do you do this? You know, how do you make it happen? I remember reading in Vivekananda, who was another great saint who came over here to the West in the early part of this century, like 1905 or so. And someone asked him that question. He said, in the springtime, go out and look at the blossoms on the fruit trees. This is how you do it, just like they do. He said, the blossom vanishes of itself as the fruit grows. So too will the lower self vanish as the divine grows within you. It's not really a matter of beating anything down or conquering anything. It's allowing the divine to grow within you. And it's like thinking of yourself as a container that will only hold so much as a physical being. And if it's filled with fear and anxiety and stress and tension and all of this kind of stuff, then there's no room left in it for love and peace and detachment. If you just understand that the blossom vanishes of itself as the fruit grows, and that the lower part of you, the part of you that's ego-based, will vanish as the divine grows within you. As you practice these principles, you fill up this container with this, and it pushes that other stuff out. There's no more room for it. It just overflows and goes out. And as that happens, as you see in that metaphor, then the container that is you becomes filled with patience. And that patience is based on knowing. That knowing is based on trust. Generosity is taking all that manifests for you in your life, all that shows up for you, and being willing to share it. The thing that generosity does for us is that it liberates us from the concept of scarcity. And that's what we need to have in order to be manifestors. You become liberated from the idea of scarcity when you are willing to generously give of that which shows up in your life. If you're free enough to give what you have away, especially the things that you have that you treasure. Like a lot of people say, and I've been practicing this for quite a few years now, a lot of people say, well, you go through your clothes that you haven't worn in the last year or two. And if you haven't worn them, just take them out of the closet and give them to someone who can benefit from them. You can always find someone that will benefit from them, which is a wonderful thing to do. But a more powerful, spiritually enriching thing to do is to go through the clothes that you like the best and that you wear all the time, or that you wouldn't want to part with because they really mean so much to you, and give 10% of those away. Then you'll see the spiritual food, if you will, beginning to show up more and more into your life. When you can give away something of yourself that you seem to be attached to, because detaching from it is a big part of this business of manifesting. You see, when you become generous, you are really saying to the universe and to yourself very quietly, I know there are no limits to this divine intelligence. I know it's inexhaustible. I know it was never born. I know it can never die. And therefore, I am willing to allow it to flow through me. The divine intelligence is always moving. It is always flowing. Generosity takes you away from that idea that somehow there's a scarcity out there. And as you practice generosity of spirit. Detach from the outcome about what people are going to do with it, where it's going to go, how it's going to get used, whether it's going to be done for the right way or the way I think it should be done. Detach from that and give from your heart all that shows up in your life. Just let it keep flowing. And after a while, what happens is you are completely detached from how it works out. And you're not even attached to how things show up in your life. And all of those things that you used to be so concerned with when you were back there as an athlete and a warrior, and asking for so much and being so concerned of whether you're going to get it and how it's going to show up, when you reach this level of generosity and gratitude in your life, what happens is miraculous. It no longer matters. And the irony here is that as it no longer matters to you, more and more shows up. Until it gets to a point where you can't even handle it all. And you just keep letting it circulate. And you're not concerned at all with where the next one is going to be. You have a knowing.
The idea that you have to be in competition with somebody else in order to feel good about yourself or in order to have the life that you want is just a myth. It's a meme. It's a cultural belief system that has been handed down. And I left that whole world of competition behind. I don't think there's anybody else out there on this planet that I'm in competition with. You know, the prestige, the money, the positions and all of that. All of those things have come, and even the amount of money. I make more money now than I've ever even dreamt that I could possibly make when I was in that competitive part of my life. And when you let go of it, you know, in the recovery movement, and I'm a part of it. In the recovery movement, we say, let go and let God. You know, allow the great divine Tao, the divine mind, God, Spirit, whatever you want to call it, allow it to be the guiding force in your life. And everything that you were chasing after before very likely will come chasing after you. It's a hard thing for people to believe, because we think we have to chase after it, and we have to grasp it, we have to get a hold of it, we have to fight it. For me, it doesn't work that way.
You are so aware of the abundance and the unlimitedness of the divine intelligence that is in everything, that it can't be exhausted, that you're willing to allow it to continue to flow through your life. And then you get in synchronicity with that divine force. It's almost like you have a collaboration with fate. And as you collaborate, rather than fight, scarcity moves away in your life. That's how I give. When I give, I ask not for one explanation of how it's going to be used. The giving is done for the purpose of being generous, of the opening of the heart chakra to another human being.
I've always kind of believed that when you come into this world with big dharma, and I obviously have, then what accompanies that is big challenges, big obstacles, big difficulties. Many of you know I spent the first 9 years of my life in a series of foster homes and orphanages. I don't look back on that as anything other than a great opportunity for me to learn self-reliance as a young boy, and then consequently teach people about self-reliance, which is what I've been doing for 35 years or so, with 30-some books and programs of all sorts and so on. It isn't to say that those 9 years weren't filled with some heartaches and some sadnesses and missing your mommy and things like that. But my mom, who is almost 94 now, in a hospital tonight, having a pacemaker put in on Tuesday. At that age, that's a challenging thing as well. I've been through a lot of the kinds of struggles. I mean, we had nothing when I was younger. Everything I have is what I earned. I look upon that as a great advantage. But it was just the dharma that I chose, I guess. I've been through divorce twice. I know what that feels like. I know the heartache of breakups, and have lived with them and struggled with them, and have used it to help me to become a better person, a more compassionate, kinder person who listens more than he talks. I've been through the addiction route in my life and struggled with it on many different levels. From alcohol, which I can proudly say it's been 22 years since it's crossed into my body. Yeah, thank you. But the previous 22 years, I drank enough to make sure that these 22 years were covered. So, and not just alcohol, but drugs as well. I've been down that road, and and know what it feels like, and know the struggle of it and the pain of it.
But Elizabeth Kubler-Ross said, if you shield the mountain from the windstorms, you'll never see the beauty of the carvings. So the storms of our life, if we try to shield ourselves from the storms of our lives, we don't get to see the beauty of the carvings, of what those storms bring for us. And virtually every spiritual advance, not virtually, every spiritual advance that you make in your life, that I've made in my life, has been preceded by a fall of some kind or another. I always give the example of when I was in high school, I was on the track team, and I was the high jumper on the track team, among other things. And the bar would be up here, and we get back here, and you run up to this is a metaphor for what I'm speaking about, and you run up to the bar, and you run up and get down as low as you can, as fast as you can, and in the process of getting down low, it would allow you to propel yourself over the bar. So the low points of our life are the times when we should be in a state of gratitude, as hard as that is for us to do, but that's what an enlightened being does. Is they begin to see that, these low points in our life, and I've been through some low points in my life, very dramatic low points. When my wife and I separated 12 years ago, I mean, it was the closest thing that I could call it to a depression for months and months. And out of that depression and out of that deep hurt and sadness about breaking up our family, in a sense, because we're not really broken up, but I was able to write The Power of Intention, which is the next book after Erroneous Zones that just soared and just took off and sells in the millions all around the planet. And it came from a place of compassion. That it's when you are in those low points that you have a tendency to reach out to other people with more compassion and more love and more understanding because of what you're going through yourself. So that, I think, and this is true, I could give 1,000 examples of that, but the whole idea of it is that these low points, the struggles that we go through in our lives are really significant things, and look back at them, and you can do an awful lot of growing from them.
So that when you bring higher energy to the presence of lower and slower energy that we call evil, energy that we call disease, energy that we call depression, you are not only sending the disease and the depression and the despair away, you are converting that very energy into the higher and the faster energy that is being brought to its presence. The same thing is true of hatred. When you bring love to the presence of hatred, hatred not only dissolves, but it turns to love. All you have to do is light a candle, turn on a light, and the darkness dissolves. The darkness disappears. But more than that, and this is really crucial for what I'm presenting here this afternoon, the darkness is converted to light.